Okay, well, my second question is this. What put you in jail? When did you bring up the subject of you put your baby in a trash can and let it die?
Now, you heard that correctly. This woman, who already was a mother of 3 children, in November of 2003, hid the pregnancy from everyone around her, gave birth, and took the perfectly healthy baby, except for the narcotics that was in his system. But he was a 7-pound little boy, and she put him in the trash can. Now, a judge found it heinous enough to sentence her to 40 years in prison. She's done half her time, not even, and up for parole. Now, frankly, this parole hearing was incredibly frustrating for me to listen to. They don't do the job that is worthy, in my opinion, of this type of crime. I'll unpack it with the details at the end, but while you're watching it, if you want to listen to the words that she uses. Listen or watch when she cries, when she wipes her eyes, and how quickly she flows from emotions. I'll unpack it with the details at the end.
Us, to get us started here, tell us exactly why you feel like you're worthy of being paroled.
Well, first of all, let me just start by saying, I've struggled with that my entire prison sentence of why I would be worthy to be here today. I caused a great deal of harm to many people, and I have struggled with that. But the person that you have in your file in front of you is not the person I am today. I've prided myself in my sobriety and educating myself to be the best person I can be for the rest of my life, sir. I make it my goal every morning to remind myself what my sobriety has got me and how far it has gotten me. Because there wasn't a minute when I was on those streets that a minute went by, a second went by, an hour that didn't go by that I didn't need to be high to cope or to just cope, sir. But I'm not that person anymore.
Okay.
A lot of help from staff here, classes. I'm no longer that person. And I feel like I can do everything possible through my 2-lane degree. I would like to become a social worker to help young girls like me, never to be like me, or to cause the trauma that I caused to anyone else, and the pain and the hurt and everything that they've had to live with.
All right. I appreciate your statement, and I can see the remorse in your tone and what you're saying. So we'll continue now, and let's see. Adrienne, we'll let you be last, if that's okay with you, and we'll take next. We'll take Carrie. Let's see. Let's leave Carrie second, and Heather. Why don't you go ahead and tell us what you have to say, Heather?
You can step up.
Oh, okay.
Stay right there. Thank you. Sorry, I have to have glasses because I've made 51 and eyes don't work like they used to. So first of all, thank y'all for letting me come on behalf of my younger sister, Kim. Really, her name is Kimberly, but I don't think I've called her Kimberly unless I fussed at her when she was 6 anymore. So otherwise, I just give her eyes and she knows that her ass is mine, pardon my French, or English, and how you'd like to look at that. Ever since she has grown up, she has been that little sister. We were inseparable. Even though there's a 7.5-year age gap, I will say I look younger than she. She started out as my living little doll. She graduated to being my model and then my best friend. Has always been caring, loving, giggling. That giggling one that just had the knack for when she saw anybody else in the world, whether it be in the grocery, a family gathering, or whatever, just needed a hug. And at 3 years old, she'd walk away and go see that person and offer that hug. As a family, we became a
Terry,
part of the system.
I didn't say this before we got started, but we really need to limit our remarks because we have a lot of people will be talking in this case.
Okay,
If you would, give us the gist of what you have to say, please, ma'am. Very much. Thank you for those remarks. Now, everything you said was meaningful and taken to heart. And I'm sorry to cut you off a little bit, but anyway, it was necessary. Okay, let's hear from Carrie Myers. Carrie, would you tell us what's on your mind?
Good morning, Kerry Myers, Louisiana Parole Project. We're here to let the board know that we have full support of Kimberly should this board grant her today. Kimberly impressed us tremendously by her commitment to her sobriety, by her work ethic. She works at DOC headquarters, which is a highly trusted position. She is thought highly of by staff. She has earned an associate's degree currently in a bachelor's degree program with Tulane. She has trained service dogs for veterans. She is a regular participant in AA/NA and continues to work on her sobriety. She's a certified sign language interpreter. She's done nothing but her trajectory is just continues to move upward. And we think that Kimberly is not only destined for success, but we are fully committed to helping her reach that success should this board grant her parole today. The fact that she's overcome the adversity from her childhood to become who she is today is like I said, is extraordinarily impressive. Someone who has dealt with trauma, the terrible effects that trauma can cause, and has come out the other side and continues to excel. And so should she be released today? The work she's done and trajectory she is on, and grant her parole today.
Okay, thank you very much for those comments. All right, now we will hear from the attorney for the Louisiana Parole Project. Ms. Hutchison, would you want to talk to us now?
I believe there's one more speaker. It's Ms. Stephanie King should be present at the board.
All of us formerly incarcerated. Thank you.
Thank you for the comment. We appreciate it. Okay, I think I'm back on track now. Ms. Hutchinson, I believe it's your turn to speak, and I could be wrong, so feel free to correct me.
No, sir, Mr. Prater, you're correct. Thank you for having me today, board. I think today we have the opportunity to see true rehabilitation and change. Nothing Kimberly or I will say today will or can change the facts of the crime. Her remorse, the grief, and trauma of her actions are a part of her DNA now. I think you can see that. She lives with the facts and all of the effects of her crime every minute of every day. The death of her baby boy and the loss of Haley and Bradley, her two older children, showed her how deep and dark her addiction had taken her. Over the last 20 years, she's pulled herself out of that deep and dark hole. I think a lot of what I was going to talk about has already been said, but I do want to hit on just a few extra things. We talk about her education, but Kimberly's education, she had only gone to the 6th grade by the time this crime happened, even though she was 24 years old. She's now completed a literacy program, obtained her GED. She can be a sign language interpreter for public settings. She's certified. She's a student at Tulane University, but I want the board to understand that they have to go through the same requirements of anybody who goes into Tulane University. Been happy to help with any of those questions, and I would just reserve the right to clear up anything at the end of the hearing, if necessary.
Okay, thank you. And Warden, we'll get to you in just a little bit. I'll be asking as soon as the opposition to parole has their say, then I'd like to come back to you and your staff and hear what y'all say about it before we do our questions. So
Yes, sir. Thank you.
just so you can be prepared for that. Okay, we'll move to the opposition. We have Randall Meyer, and we'll take him last, and Haley Raven. Okay, Haley, it's your turn, and if you would approach the podium and speak to us for about 3 minutes and let us know what you think.
Coming from one of her and only daughter, she took a life of my brother. She took a life of mine. She left me in the hands of a very abusive home. She put me into a sexual assault situation. She took the motherhood that I wanted growing up. She took it from me. I never got to meet her. I never got to experience a motherhood from her. Coming at 24 years old now with my own daughter, I could never imagine taking a life of a newborn. We'll always stand on this. I don't think and will never think she deserves to ever know me or my daughter, and I take that heartily. This is not my only court case I've ever gone through, and this is a closure that I needed, and that is why I'm standing here today. I don't think she deserves to walk the streets that a little boy should have been able to walk, and he wasn't able to. He took his first breath, and that was it. He got to experience life in a dumpster, and I don't think anybody deserves that. And honestly, I think she needs to deserve the rest of her sentence, just like he didn't get to deserve a life. And that's all I'm gonna have to say today, sir. My opinion is what it can be, but I don't ever want to have any connection with her, and I don't think she deserves anything.
Thank you for those words. We appreciate that. Okay, Randall Meyer, would you please let us know what your feelings are?
Yes, sir. Randall Meyer, Assistant DA, Jefferson Parish. But with all due respect, I'd like to hear what the warden has to say before I comment.
Okay. All right.
We always feel that the warden has more contact with the victim with the inmate than any of us, and I like to hear their position on things.
Okay, I think that'd be appropriate. Warden, would you go ahead and tell us what's on your mind then?
Yes, sir. Some of the notes that I had made prior to this are kind of a repeat from what some of the people that spoke in support of Kimberly, but she is a minimum custody inmate, and she does work at our headquarters office every day. So she is trusted, and all of her work supervisors at headquarters have given her glowing remarks, and she really puts all that she has. When she does come back, she lives in the dorm where we house some of our new intakes and our reentry offenders. So while she's not here during the day with those inmates every day, but she is mentoring them when she comes back in the evening, whether that be just because they're new into the system and to try and guide them to follow the right way and follow the right path, or whether it's about sobriety and getting people really on that path to wanting to be where she is and to achieve what she's done. She is very serious about her educational studies and really puts a focus on that. I think, Kimberly and I spoke last week for a little bit, and, she said she just feels like she really has put forth the effort and just feels like she's in a really good place right now. But again, I've never had any issues with Kimberly. She's always done anything that's ever been asked of her. And I do think
with the family support that she has here with us today and with the support of Parole Project, I think she has a good head on her shoulders right now.
Okay, thank you, Warden. We appreciate that input. Value what you had to say. All right, Mr. Meyer, I think it's your turn now.
Yes, sir. Thank you, Randall Meyer, Assistant DA, Jefferson Parish. We submitted a letter in opposition to Ms. Loft, and that was based on the victim opposition and the nature of the offense. And also, I note that she's only served about half of her sentence. It sounds like Ms. Loft has done a lot of good things. If this board were to decide to grant her parole, we would recommend that she, be ordered to complete a long-term substance abuse treatment program, as Mr. Myers had pointed out that they had ready to help her with, and also that there be some mandated AA and NA continued attendance at meetings for AA and NA. I've not necessarily sure all y'all have heard this from me before, but I've got a good friend who's been 40 years involved in AA, NA. In fact, he told me not long ago that the first event he attended sober was my wedding. 40 years ago, and he's still very involved in it. He still goes weekly. He still sponsors people. So I think it's a extremely important program, and for her to continue with when she ever does get out and while she remains incarcerated. So that's our position today. Thank you.
We thank you for your remarks. Thank you very much, sir. Okay, the way that we do these, as far as the process goes, is that we've heard a lot of input from both sides and from those that are not really on a side. And now the board has studied this. We've had weeks to study it, and we've all made ourselves very familiar with it. But we divide these up, and one leads the question and votes first. And Danny Barra,
You got it, Barra.
Much as I know him, I still can't say his name. So if I offended anybody's names today, then it's just me. But Danny, would you start the questioning for us, and then we'll see where we go?
Yeah. Before I start the questioning, I just put a few things that on the record, a little details of the crime, a little bit of the stuff I saw through the paperwork, and basically on November 8, 2003, a newborn male infant was found in a garbage can with the placenta after birth. Through investigation, the mother, Kimberly Loft, was interviewed at the hospital where she sought treatment. She admitted giving birth to an infant who was stillborn. She admitted concealing the pregnancy by wrapping the infant in a towel and putting the infant in the garbage can. On 11/10, forensic pathologist ruled the infant's death was a homicide. Loft was questioned a second time and admitted the infant was alive at birth, and she wrapped the infant in a towel and concealed the birth and placed the infant in the trash. I also see through looking at the file that you're a true first offender, which is good, that you haven't had any write-ups since 2015. That's also good. You served 21 or 40 years. You do have law enforcement opposition and opposition from family. So those things being said, my question is, can you explain to me your state of mind at the time of the crime? What caused you to do something like this? I can't even wrap my head around it. I just would like for you to explain to me a little bit of how things could go so bad.
The only way I could put it is, sir, I was an addict and I panicked. And that is a panic that I have lived with since. There are no words that could put a reason to what I did, sir. There are no words. other than I was a coward. And that's all I've looked at myself as a coward. I live every day, sir, with what I did, with the lies I told. I live with that every day, sir. There is no words for what I did, because it is unexplainable. There are none. There are none. And I know how it looks, because it wakes me up at night. I know how it looks. I ask myself daily, how could I have been such a damn fool? But I have no answers even for myself, sir. And I can't change what I did. I can't. I'll never be able to change it. If the board was to grant me today my freedom, I would only be free from prison, sir. I wouldn't be free from my actions. I wouldn't be free of abandoning my children. I won't be free of none of that. So no, sir, there is no words that could justify my actions, sir. Other than I was an addict and I was a coward.
All right. What are your plans, like, should we release you? What's your plans for the next 5 years?
Well, I would like to go to Parole Project for as long as possible. I would like to finish my bachelor's degree. My main goal is to be a social worker. I would like to reach out to young kids who feel like they have no one to turn to, sir. I know I did a horrible job with my children, and to hear how I hurt my daughter, I can't change that, sir. I can't. There's nothing I could do in this prison that'll change that. There's no class. There's nothing I could do to change that. But there is somebody that I can help out there. I know there is. I know there is. And that is what I strive for. That's what my sobriety strives for. That is what my everyday strives for. As everyone has told you, I spend my days working in headquarters, and by night, I'm either in school, helping a mentee with homework. There's never a moment that goes by that I'm not giving back to my community, considering everything I took and everybody I've hurt. All of my pain, that's my driving force, sir, to stay sober and to become a social worker. It's my driving force, sir.
Thank you.
Okay.
That's all the questions I had.
Yeah, how old were your two children, when this happened and you went to prison? How old were those children?
I think they were like 5 and 3 at the time.
So the girl who spoke here today, was she your 3-year-old or your
Yes,
5-year-old?
ma'am. Yes, ma'am. My 3-year-old.
Did they go into foster care? Is there where the children went?
No, ma'am. Actually, they stayed with my parents until their father asked me to hand over custody to them because he felt like they needed to be together with him. That is the only reason why I sent them to live with their father. Only reason. Other than that, they would have stayed in the hands of my parents, and my sister was willing to help in their care. Haley was in school at the time of this incident. While they were in my parents' care, they came to Karen parents on the compound. I still had access to my children. The day their father asked me to sign them kids over was the last time I saw them.
Yeah, because I heard your daughter saying that she lived in an abusive home. So I'm assuming that happened when she was handed over to her mom.
Yes, ma'am. She was very taken care of at my parents' home. She was in Hazel Park Elementary until Hurricane Katrina. After Hurricane Katrina and they had to relocate, my parents immediately got her back in school.
Yes.
They had the best of care with my parents. My parents loved them. And if hindsight's 2020, if I would have known 20 years ago, giving that girl to her father, this was going to happen, she would have gone in foster care before she'd have ever went to him. What I did and the reason I'm here today holds nothing on my children.
No. Well, let me ask you this. You say that you want to be a social worker.
Yes,
You
ma'am.
said you want to do outreach to children. So if you were to speak to a crowd, how would you start your presentation?
I think I would introduce myself as an addict,
Okay,
because that is how I introduce myself today.
right.
When we get new commits in here, I introduce myself as an addict and they just look at me and they ask me how long I've been in jail. And I tell them how long I've been in jail and they always wonder why I still claim myself as an addict. Because ma'am, there's one thing I've learned. You can stop being an addict, but you will always be an addict.
Okay, well, my second question is this. What put you in jail? When did you bring up the subject of you put your baby in a trash can and let it die? In a crowd of people, when do you say that? In your outreach?
Immediately. I want them to know where I come from.
Because I know you said you're going to tell them you're an addict, but the second part of that is.
Immediately. I'm an addict and this is what I did. Immediately. I had spent all this time. I can't run from it, ma'am. I can't.
That's the harder thing in life when you
Yes,
get
ma'am.
out, be
Yes,
able to say. Because, we all live with our truths that a lot of times, a lot less than that we don't like to share with other people. So that would be very difficult. So I was just wondering, as a social worker and to have outreach, what would be your topic? So that's the only question I've got.
Okay. All right, I don't have any questions. Thank you. Are you prepared to vote?
Yes. Let's have an executive session.
Okay, we have a motion for an executive session. Do we have a second?
Second.
Okay, staff, would you call the roll, please? Okay, we'll have a motion to come back from executive session to the regular session. Anyway, it's time to vote now. And so, Danny, would you give us your vote, please, sir?
All right. Today, I'm gonna vote to grant you parole based on you being a true first offender, you having a good plan with the parole project, the numerous letters of support, the accomplishments that you've made in prison. However, I'm gonna add special conditions to your release that you stay with parole project at least 2 years, that you complete weekly substance abuse classes, that you do monthly mental health classes, all of those monitored by parole project, and you follow all recommendations for treatment and services. And that's my vote.
Okay, Ms. Stapleton?
My vote is, I concur with Mr. Barra, but I do want to acknowledge the pain that Haley has suffered. And I'm so glad she had the courage to come speak to us today, because this has been a devastating event for everybody, as we know. And so I do concur with Mr. Barra, and my vote is going to be grant also for the very same reasons. But everybody's pain is coming from a different place, and it all matters.
All right, that's 2 and it takes 3. So my vote's gonna be to grant too. That's not normally like me. The reason I say that is I'm usually a tough sell. I don't know what more we could ask you to do. I know how hard it's been on you, and I take what the warden has to say very much to heart. And so with the conditions that Mr. Dan put on you, my vote is to grant also with the same acknowledgement to the opposition. So that's the end of this hearing. The time is 9:47. Signing off from LCID.
Thank you.
I told you that that hearing was frustrating. At least it was for me, and I had to cut it up. It was much longer, and you know, I apologize for doing all the speeding up and stuff, but I really felt that it was not a digestible hearing. If you want to see the full hearing, you can go to the Louisiana YouTube page and watch it there. Look, I am disappointed in Mr. Randall Meyer, the ADA. He is so, you know, he is just so consistent. And usually he would come in there and he would state the facts that I'm about to share with you. When you take a step back and you hear about the facts of the case, this was her fourth child. She had 3 prior children, one that she had given up to adoption beforehand, right? I don't have empathy for a woman who keeps popping out children and doing this without any disregard. Next is that she hid her pregnancy for 9 months. She denied being pregnant. Her boyfriend did not know she was pregnant. No one knew she was pregnant because she denied it. So when they ask her the question, why did you do it? And she says, I was an addict and I panicked. You are lying. You are lying. This is premeditated. I'll go through the facts of the case. I was disgusted by the way it was handled. It's handled all you know, like they're all like, and you know, I didn't fast forward the sisters beginning part because we always need those supporters that are just so wacky, you know, the turtles and the rainbows to talk about her sisters behind, like what I don't know what I'm like, what are you talking about? Did you also notice the only time she had that tissue box in front of her was she didn't touch the tissue, but I think she had a tissue in her hand from ahead of time. But if you're really crying, you'd go through more than one tissue. But the only time she did cry was when someone was talking about her accomplishments, how hard her life was. Then she cried. But when she had to talk about the pain and suffering that she caused her family, when she had to talk about how her daughter doesn't want her out, doesn't want anything to do with her, when she has to talk about the boy that she murdered, not one tear. No, just fake tears. She fake cried. And we see this all the time in true crime community, whether it's a fake, you know, interrogation or whether it's at a parole hearing, they fake cry. And as soon as the question shifts, snaps out of it. She talks about her school and she talks about what she would tell the people. And, you know, Miss Stapleton, the survivor's advocate, the victim's advocate, she caught her on it. Well, you said you'll talk about being an addict, but will you ever talk about that you murdered your baby boy? Oh yeah. I always will talk about that. I just don't, you know, like when I hear about this case, you might think, look, you know, she's so riddled with narcotics, her mind's not thinking, but this is different. This is premeditated. She knew that she was going to kill this baby, and she did. And then all these years later, she still lies. That's the stuff that pisses me off. I panicked. She said those words at this parole hearing. No, you did not panic. She said other words that might be, there are no other words. I'm a coward. There's no words because it's unexplainable. I know how it looks because it wakes me up at night. You know, those things are the right words, but I just didn't buy it. And also, you know what pissed me off? When she said, if I would have known that her father was going to do this, I would have given that girl, I wouldn't have given that girl to her father. That girl? You mean your daughter? Who calls their daughter that girl? We know exactly how she feels about her daughter, and I commend you, daughter, for standing up to your baby brother, the baby brother you couldn't stand up for. I am so sick and tired of parents doing these. She's giving birth to her kids and then just throwing them to the wolves, and now she's the victim. And the sad part is, you hear it does seem that she had her grandparents. There were people that could have helped, but no, you're too obsessed with your addiction. Oh, please. It doesn't. It takes a second. It takes a second to be able to a phone call. You could have solved this problem. You could have solved it in so many ways. You think about what it takes to give birth to a baby and wrap it up and put it in a trash can. Him in a trash can, a 7-pound baby boy. And she's 23 years old. This is not a 14-year-old teenager who's like in high school, and she's 23. She is already a mother of 3 children. She already gave one up to adoption. You couldn't give him up to adoption? God, I don't get it. There's a reason she was sentenced to all this time, and it's just like, yeah, you did great in prison, and if you want to say, you know what, go give her parole. At least take this more seriously. I just don't like the way this parole hearing was handled. It was handled like it was, I don't know, like it was, I don't even know what it was. It wasn't a parole hearing. It was like a predetermined interview. And this warden always at this prison. It's like the warden, and she doesn't feel like a warden. She feels like their best pal at like a sorority. Kendra woman was booked Monday of first-degree murder after a newborn son's towel wrapped body was found in a neighbor's trash bin in a case described by police as unimaginable to the normal, sane person. Wearing a white tank top and light blue track pants, Kimberly, 23 years old, looked at the ground and said nothing as detectives escorted her outside the police department. Oh, I forgot to say that part. I think my kids were 5 and 3 years old. You're completely sober now for 20 years. You still don't know how old your babies were? Oh, and her sister. I just need to get this off my chest. Her sister's stupid statement. She starts off by saying, my baby sister was like a little doll. She was just the one who was always giggling. And when you needed a hug, she would walk over and give a hug. She was 3 years old. And it's like, do you realize you're talking about your sister who killed a baby, and now you're referring to your baby sister as a baby, as a doll, as a 3-year-old giving hugs? Do you not connect the dots on how birds of a feather flock together? It's like in their DNA, something. She told detectives that the 7-pound infant, her 4th child, was moving when she covered him with towels and placed him in a brown waste management bin minutes after delivering him by herself in a friend's bathroom early Sunday morning. Captain Steve Kenner, Police Department. Thank you, Sir Richard, for this information. There's also an appeal, but whatever. When questioned by detectives, she gave no motive, but said she screwed up her life when she got pregnant. That's what she says. Those are her words. She was looking to live the single life, and this happened, and she panicked. The same words, panicked. She's looking to live the single life, already a mom of 3, but she doesn't want to have the baby. No, that's too much work. So she said that her boyfriend and his family suspected she might be pregnant, but when confronted, she denied it and started wearing baggier clothing. All indications are that the family did not know, the police chief said, including her sister, right, who's now her support. The boyfriend is horrified too because he is fully able to take care of the child and would have done so. Let that sink in. Forensic investigators ruled the death a homicide but would not give the cause of death Monday. Said that the baby had a full head of hair and was breathing at the time of birth. Police said the infant was born Saturday, 2:30 a.m. in an apartment at the home of the brother of the boyfriend. She was visiting the family when she disappeared into the upstairs bathroom and asked for a change of clothes about 15 minutes later. He said that she snipped the umbilical cord with sewing scissors from her purse. I wonder why she happened to have scissors in her purse. Her boyfriend's sister-in-law passed her the clothes and saw blood in the bathroom, but did not know that she had given birth. She wrapped the child up. They may have thought that it was from bleeding, and they didn't know she was carrying the child. Alarmed by the blood, her boyfriend took her to the medical center Saturday morning. She was treated for complications resulting from childbirth, but she denied having a baby. The The police questioned her while she was in the hospital, but she told them she had not been pregnant. She was released from the hospital Saturday in good condition. Right? She panicked so much that she actually, lied that any baby ever existed. She would not release the boyfriend. Okay, the police would not release the boyfriend's name in an effort to contact him were unsuccessful. A woman who answered the door of the apartment would not comment, but said the man was planning to make a statement. The case began on Saturday morning when a neighbor found that what she thought was an infant's leg in a trash can outside her apartment building. She thought she would get away with it, and she would have gotten away with it if the neighbor did not find a baby in a trash can. Detectives contacted local hospitals to learn that a 23-year-old woman had been treated for complications of childbirth. She said that the 3 other children, one of whom was given up for adoption and is now 9 years old, the 2 other ages 3 and 5 are in the custody of family members. She's unemployed and does not have a criminal record. She doesn't know if it was aware of the state that lets a mother leave an infant in so-called safe haven, such as a hospital, police station, fire department, public health unit for up to 30 days after the child is born. That's how lazy and pathetic you have to be to not even take one phone call, ask one question that she literally could just have left her baby anywhere without questions asked as a safe haven. One of the most tragic crimes is a newly born child who has no way to defend himself. It's unimaginable to the normal person, but apparently manageable now to everybody talking in support. She's so great. She's so wonderful. I don't believe it. Here's the thing. Again, you might think someone's mind can be so, but there's no, I don't see any. During this parole hearing, she was not I didn't think she was a likable person. I didn't think there was empathy. I don't think she actually has true remorse and regret. The tears were only for herself. The calling her own daughter, who's you could see is so broken from what her mother did to her, and standing up, and then she calls her daughter that girl. Anyways, that's my 2 cents. I really don't like this new format with these Louisiana parole hearings. I'm thinking of bringing in Utah hearings into this channel. Let me know in the comment section if you want me to do that or not. And, or if you just want me to, I don't know. Anyways, with that, I'll let you go.
And this is a closure that I needed, and that is why I'm standing here today. I don't think she deserves to walk the streets that a little boy should have been able to walk. And he wasn't able to. He took his first breath, and that was it. He got to experience life in a dumpster, and I don't think anybody deserves that. And honestly, I think she needs to deserve the rest of her sentence, just like he didn't get to deserve a life.